Welcome to The Next Perfect Step. I'm your co-host, Lori Tremblay, and Kim and I are both intuitive healers with our own private practices.
And I am your co-host, Kim McStay, and this podcast is a community-based platform where people can safely share their ideas and learn some stuff.
Right. Today, we're very pleased to have Deepak Chari with us. He's from Sarasota, Florida, and he is certified in advanced biofeedback. He works with professionals and helps people find and move through anxiety and emotional stress, especially when they feel stuck trying other approaches. He often works with professionals who have tried numerous tools yet still find themselves repeating the same limiting patterns. He has a unique blend of advanced biofeedback and integrative techniques that gets to the core of these patterns using the information contained in the voice. So change can happen quickly and gently. Welcome, Deepak. We're so happy to have you with us from Sarasota, Florida.
Thank you for having me on your show.
Yes. Yes. So we'd be love to hear about your work. It sounds fascinating.
Thank you. Yes. I got into this work actually with advanced voice biofeedback, and because of my own challenging journey as a kid, actually. And by the way, I use voice because I have found your voice is the most accurate reflection of your limiting beliefs, subconscious thoughts, limiting thought patterns that there ever is. And I've tried many things. And because of that, I can hear things in your voice, in people's voices that they want to address, but even other things that they're not even consciously aware of that were holding them back in their lives. You know, guilt, shame, regret, anxiety, stress, self-sabotage patterns, like we want to do something right and we sabotage it, and, any traumas of the past, all those kinds of things. But it all started with my childhood journey. Because when I was a kid, I was kind of basically a bookworm. And I used to just kind of hide out, from people. And so I got bullied, I guess, as a process. So my safe haven was hiding in the library. So I would hide in different aisles of the library, moving, swiftly from one aisle to another to avoid certain kinds of people. And when I found a safe place, I would kind of hang out there for a little bit. And since I was there, I said, I've got some time here. I guess I got to occupy my time. So I would grab books randomly from the shelf. But as I found out later, I guess they weren't so random because they happened to be on the law of attraction.
Wow.
I didn't even know what the heck the law of attraction was. I was like 8 or 9 years old. But it was books by Dr. Joseph Murphy, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People, As a Man Thinketh, and many other wonderful books like that. So I didn't realize I was actually imprinting or programming my subconscious in a positive way to deal with my tough outer world. So this continued from my childhood through all the way through adolescence and even through high school. The bullying pattern shifted from, being kind of pushed around to, well, I don't think you fit in our group. In fact, I don't think you fit in any group. So I was kind of alone. And I felt abandoned and like, oh, I have no friends, nothing. Once I graduated from high school, I thought, hey, this pattern's got to end, right? Because those are immature kids. But I found it didn't. It continued. It continued with all kinds of friends, classmates, relationships, and even bosses and supervisors. In other words, they were negative, narcissistic, controlling, manipulative, gaslighting, any name in the book you can think of, and mean. I could probably add a couple more. These were my friends, classmates, and, bosses, supervisors, and even relationships. Yeah, even there. So when I got in all those situations, I go, I guess this is how it is. I guess I have to tolerate this because at least I have some friends, even though they're horrible. But then something came to me. I thought, is this a pattern I'm going to have my whole life? But then that's when I started putting my attention that there must be a life better. Was I programmed to think this way? And how did it happen? So then on my search and my journey for this, fast forward in time, my sister and I decided to form an integrative functional medical center. We called it the Chari Center of Health. Chari is my last name. The reason we actually even formed it we wanted to have a natural solution versus the regular pharmaceutical approach for medical issues. The reason why we even had that intention is because when I was a teenager, as a kid, I used to always give my father his blood pressure medications and other medications for his health issues. Suddenly, at the age of 51, he suddenly died of a massive heart attack.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Wow.
Yeah, thank you. So my mother was an instant widow, and we had no father suddenly as teenagers. So my sister and I looked at each other. We said, why did this happen? How did this happen? Could we actually prevent this from happening to anyone else? We didn't really know. We said that. So that's why I'm leading to this. Fast forward, my sister and I said, let's form this kind of medical center, because my sister went into medicine because of that situation. But she wanted to do the natural approach, which many didn't do, which is a much longer, arduous approach to do the natural when she had her medical degree. So when she started seeing people in our center, which I was managing while I was working as a conventional engineer in the field, she saw all these tons of people, mainly women, healing them of all these complex conditions, which is wonderful. And I was improving productivity and efficiency in all these companies, right? And by the way, I only became an engineer because my dad was. So as I saw her doing that, I go, you know what? I'm improving productivity and efficiency and quality control in all these companies. But I'm so inspired by what she does, because when she changes their life, that person's life changed the life of so many others. I think I would like to do this. So I told my sister, I'd like to work at our own center that I'm managing. She goes, that's great, but you don't have any kind of medical background or anything. You have an engineering degree. I go, oh, you're right. So then I thought, what can I do? And this is how it all connects. I said, that's right. When I was a kid being bullied, I was reading all those books on the law of attraction. I wonder if that could help here. So yeah, this is what I did. Universe, can you and somehow help me to heal people in some way with this engineering degree? Can you help me in some way? Because I don't have a medical degree. Yeah, I said it like that. 2 weeks later, some friends came up to me and said, Deepak, this guy's going to be speaking in Santa Monica, California, because at that time we lived in San Diego, California, about how your voice reveals everything about you, meaning your limiting belief, limiting perceptions, negative thoughts, everything. But most importantly, how you could send frequencies, harmonics, and other advanced technologies to that person remotely to release those limiting patterns, regardless of how long they've had them. So I go, whoa, the light bulb went on in my head. Maybe this is technical. I'm an engineer, and I could do this maybe at our center. But a second light bulb came on, and that said, wait a minute, you've been bullied your whole life. You have all these horrible people in your life. If this is a program like the movie The Matrix, because this was around 2004, The Matrix came out in 1999, maybe I could clear this program, like Neo and Morpheus, if people know the movie The Matrix. So I went up to him and I said, I would like to apprentice with you, because he created the software for this technology. He said, okay, I'll take one more person, and that's about it. I happened to be there at the right time, right place, because I didn't realize he had some health conditions, so that's why he stopped after me. But I was in the right place. I learned the technique. He said, you got it. I said, okay, good. But because of my engineering background, this is how this all fits in. I said, I'm always improving productivity and efficiency in companies. Can I improve what he taught me? Can I shorten it? Can I tweak it? Can I modify it? And I did. And that's what I called my life transformation technology program, because I saw it transform all these lives that he helped me work on people. So I said, okay, before I work on a single person at our center, now that I can work there, I got to see if I can clear this programming in me, this bullying pattern. So I worked on myself, and there's a feeling of peace and release you get when you release the pattern. And it actually is quantifiable in what are called computerized voice maps, like an emotional heat map that shows. It's because I was working on myself. Wow. So once I felt that peace, I go, okay, I feel the peace. I saw the transition in the voice map. Suddenly, all those horrible, narcissistic, manipulative, controlling, cruel people in my life said, Deepak, I don't want to be around you anymore. You don't fit us anymore. I thought, oh my God, I'm losing these horrible people in my life. I thought it's better to have horrible people than nobody. It's kind of funny what I thought at the time, you know? And then they left in hordes. Then I had nobody, I thought. But then, soon after that, all these wonderful, nurturing, caring, supportive, positive people came into my life. And the reason I share this with your viewers and listeners is I had no concept of what that even was because I never experienced it. And the reason I shared that is even if your viewers and listeners like said, gosh, I don't even know what that's like. I had a very tough childhood and dysfunctional and parents were fighting and there's divorce. And I kept drawing these horrible relationships in my life. I don't even know what a loving relationship is. Even if you've had that, you can have a life totally the opposite of that because I proved it for myself. So once I started drawing these wonderful people in my life, which I had no concept of, then I said, wow, if I can do this for myself, I can definitely do this for others. So one by one, and then hundreds and hundreds of people later, all over the US and world, I was able to help all these people. So it started with my own challenging journey of, being bullied as a kid.
Wow, it's fascinating work. I'm like so impressed with that. How old were you when you started to break those patterns?
So I was probably in my, I think, early 30s or something around then.
Okay, so people have that, like don't think you can't do it now because you can kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's fascinating.
I worked on a lady who was 90, basically. And she had, as she told me, 65 years of talk therapy. And I'm not saying anything against any therapy. I'm just telling you, this is what she told me. She was still severely depressed after that many years of therapy. So I told her this is a totally different kind of structure in what I do. So I worked with her, and in a couple of months, doing only one session a week, I was able to clear what she wasn't able to clear before. You see, in her story, it might be inspirational to your viewers and listeners, is that she had no friends. She had a very hard life, tough relationships. Everyone hated her. She was public enemy number one in the retirement home. She didn't have any hope to live another day in life. She gave up on everything. So she was at her last bit, when she came to me. So when I started working on her, she felt better about herself. She felt happier. She felt lighter. She had positive, like, I want to live another day. But what happened even more interesting is soon after I did these sessions, she would go to her apartment in the retirement home, and there'd be all these gifts in front of her door, wine bottles, bread, cheese. She was like, who's leaving that? Apparently, new people who came to the retirement home thought she was the main key person to connect everyone there, even though everyone, she said, hated her, and she had no friends. So that was kind of unusual. Even the guy who would help carry her stuff to her apartment, he was kind of mean and did it very reluctantly, like, oh, I got to help you again. Once I started doing these sessions on her and she felt the peace, that same guy was like, ma'am, you have a lot of groceries. Can I help you to your apartment? Is there anything else I can help you with? Anything you want me to help you in your house? She was like, is that the same guy? Did somebody take over his body? He's like, how could that be the same guy? So that was a sudden shift there. But then she came to me after that with the follow-up session. She said, Deepak, I have a problem. I said, ma'am, everything's going so great in your life. You had no friends. You have tons of friends. You feel happy to live another day. What's the problem? Well, Deepak, I've been invited to so many family reunions, and I'm not even a family member at the head table at all those reunions. But I can't go to all of them. In fact, I'm going to have to say no to half of them. How do I say no to them?
Oh.
I said, that is no problem. Yeah, I said, no one said yes to you and you didn't say yes to anything. So no problem. I'll help you with that.
So it
great.
totally changes the vibration because like attracts like. So you're releasing these burdens and pain and everything lightens up and your vibration rises and have a different life. You're attracting different things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Almost like on autopilot because she didn't do anything differently in her life. She didn't even say any mantras or any affirmations or anything. It was changed from the inside, you see.
Yes.
So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So I'm just so fascinated by this because I'm a real firm believer in vibrational frequencies. And when you have them on a certain level, that's what you attract is whatever's on that level with you, which is why in the beginning you attract people that aren't all that great if your frequency is lower. But so how do you get into the frequency of a voice? Like, how do you detect that? Probably
Yeah.
in layman's terms.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So when I'm working with the client, I have certain software they download to their computer, and they have a headset with the swing down mic, which captures a specific one, which I recommend to them, which will capture their voice very precisely, because the voice is everything to me. So I will have them talk about the challenge in their life. Deepak, my boyfriend broke up with me. I thought we had a good relationship going. I don't know what happened, and or whatever it is, or some trauma in their life, or whatever it may be. And I will listen to their voice, and for maybe 10, 15-second samples at a time. And my computer software does an analysis of it. It's like an emotional heat map. It'll tell if it's not a charge, or it'll tell if it's a high or extreme level charge, which is the ones I work on. And regardless of what emotion it is, anger, frustration, depression, low self-esteem, low self-worth, fear, worry, regret, guilt, shame, whatever it is, it has a certain voice map pattern. So I will know, based on my research of doing this for now 20 years, what frequency specifically for that person uniquely to send to them. And these are done in bursts of 2 to 3 minutes at a time. So in other words, they will close their eyes, place their hand on a technology that sends the frequencies into their hand, into all 60 trillion cells of their body at the same time, and bring them into perfect harmony while they think of the challenging situation. So in other words, let's say that they had a breakup with their relationship. I'll say, okay, I know this happened to you. I'm so sorry to hear that. But let's go ahead and work on that. So let's go ahead and close your eyes, place your hand on this technology, listen to this music, which has certain frequencies for that unique person. While you think about the challenging situation, go over it, feel the raw emotions of what happened there, the unfortunate thing that happened there. And this is done in 2 to 3 minute bursts. So let's say it was like a level 10, like 10 is like, oh, this is so horrible what happened to me, right? On a scale of 1 to 10. After one round, which is a couple minutes at a time, in an hour session, that 10 might drop to a 7. Now, they may have had this for years and years, decades, who knows? And then we do another round, then it'll keep dropping. Now, I'm not saying it'll clear necessarily in all in one session, because that person may have the subconscious does things in layers, but we can drop that pretty far down, and that may have been decades of stuff they had. So then suddenly by the end of the session, I'll say, how do you feel now? Well, it's like a 2, or, when it gets down to that level from a 10, it's pretty much going to fade out or diminish. So, well, I feel good now. I said, I know that unfortunate thing happened. So how do you feel about it now? And they on their own will say, not me, you know what? Yeah, that was wrong what he did, dropping me like that. But you know what? I'm worth much better than that. I deserve much better than that. I tolerated him for all those years. Now that I look at it, and I can get a much better relationship than that. And I'm going to look for, and I learned from it. I became a stronger person, and I'll make better decisions. They say this on their own because their perception of what happened before has shifted.
Hmm.
So that's the key part of it.
Wow.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So I know how important sound frequency is, and I think it's wonderful that you're using sound frequency to dispel those old patterns and that are layered so deeply. But that's wonderful work.
Thank you. Thank you.
So what brought you, I know, your struggles that you went through to do that, but how did you learn about this with the frequencies?
Well, because I was guided, literally.
Okay.
To work, I was literally like at my wit's end. I said, oh, I can't live this, keep living like this. Is this how my whole life's going to be? So in a desperate attempt, I said, I'll just put my intention out there, because I so badly wanted to shift from engineering to doing that, and thus leading me to this. But there's something also I think your viewers and listeners will find interesting, because then the next question is, well, where did this even come from? Why did I even get this bullying pattern, right? I'm sure everyone's wondering that, right? Well, then that's what this is all based on. It's based on hundreds of years of data. I have found that there are 4 phases that we all go through, all of us, no matter who it is, okay? The first phase I found is when your parents decide to procreate you. And I'm being kind of direct here, I know, but I'm being this is how the science works, the quantum science. When your parents are creating you as a child, in the moment that they are doing that, whatever feelings, thoughts, emotions, regrets, frustrations they had in that moment. Like maybe the father was like, I'm not really happy where I am in my life right now. I should have been much further ahead. I'm not so happy in the relationship I am with this woman. I was actually hoping for somebody else. I had a really dysfunctional childhood. I never got over that. All that stuff up to that point, a certain percentage of that from dad downloads into the clean energy field of this child, which has nothing on the hard drive.
Right.
But the same for the mom. Maybe she wasn't ready. Maybe she said, oh, I didn't, I wasn't ready for this kid, or whatever she's thinking. I wanted to do other things first. That goes into the energy field to a certain percentage, which I can actually quantify with this work, which is pretty cool.
That is cool. Yeah. Wow.
But then also I found, and this is interesting, the unresolved issues of the grandparents on both sides, that is on the mom's and dad's side, a certain percentage of that gets downloaded into your energy field too.
That's what I've heard. Yes.
Yeah. Now, what if somebody says to me, and they have, Deepak, all my grandparents died before I was born, so we don't need to address that. I didn't know that. I'll say, well, actually, they did influence you, because from what I detected, you got about an 80% download from your father's father, who I know you never knew. And he had major issues of energy. I picked it up, of depression. Another grandparent had major issues of anger, or trauma, or whatever it may be. That also downloaded into your energy field. I know you didn't know them, but it did download to your energy field. Sometimes the grandparents or even higher than what the parents even download to the kid. That happens a lot too. So that's all in your energy field from phase one. That's just phase one. But then what's phase two? Phase two is you're in your mom's womb for 9 months, literally incubating every thought, feeling, emotion, maybe regret, guilt, shame that your mom had. What if she wasn't so happy with your dad? I'm just throwing that out there. What if they were fighting? Well, you're kind of in the middle hearing all that, and you're feeling her emotions. What if she's like, oh, I wasn't ready to have a kid. I wanted to jet set around the world and do all these things. What is the message to that kid? I wasn't wanted. I should have never been born. The mom didn't say it directly to the kid. The kid picks up the energy. All those things are in phase two. Okay? Then there's phase three. What's phase three? Phase three is you're born into the world. You already had 2 phases done. Now you have the direct interface of the parents and maybe grandparents and uncles, aunts, teachers, other people older than us that are influencing us. I've actually worked with clients who the parents actually told them, gosh, you didn't really get the talent in the family. I wish you were more talented. Or, yeah, or I don't think you're going to amount to much more than a ditch digger, son. Yeah, I know. These are real cases. Or look at that girl across the street. See how talented she is? Look how tall, look how strong she is. Can't you be like that? Look how good she's doing in school, and she's talented and everything else? Okay, so what is the message to the kid? I'm not good enough, or I have to be like somebody else. So all of those things, and maybe the parents were fighting on top of that. So the kid's picking that up too. And I also found something else. The biggest ages that affect a kid are from 0 to 12. And this is based on a lot of data, but especially from 0 to 7. In other words, no matter how crazy as an adult we hear, like, God, I can't believe my parents told me that. I don't buy it. Well, we did from 0 to 7. Whatever they said, it's the gospel truth. We just accept it. We don't question it. And up to age 12, we kind of go from 8 onwards, 8 to 12. Yeah, that's probably true. I'm probably not worth anything. I'll probably not amount to much, because apparently if the parents kept telling that. So then what happens? You get into phase 4. Phase 4, what's that? Phase 4 is when you take phase 1, 2, and 3 that I just discussed into your own life, duplicating exactly what your parents and grandparents did into your own life, and then into your kids' lives. And then your kids do the same thing. And this repeats over and over again. You see, in my case, I didn't realize it, but my father was also bullied as a kid and by his bosses. You see, he never told us, because he didn't want to burden us, that he was under so much pressure and stress, and under so much anxiety, so internalized it. And that's what actually led to his heart attack, I found out later on. That didn't make any sense suddenly out of nowhere. So that was such a passion with me, like, oh my gosh, he never told us. He kept it all in until it came to a breaking point. So and he was bullied by his bosses. See, that's where that pattern came for me, and I guess from my grandparents as well. So you project this forward in time. So this process I've developed, the Life Transformation Technology Program, this pattern that keeps repeating like Groundhog Day, breaks you out of that like a rocket ship. Now you're in a new frontier, creating a whole new pathways, not repeating what the past did, but now a whole new future for yourself and your future generations.
Amazing. Yeah, it's really amazing.
Does that clear it also for your ancestors too? Once it clears for you?
That is a brilliant question. And that's a deep question that not everyone asks me, but for those who do, yes, that's a great question. In other words, on a much deeper level, let's say in their whole life, the grandparent never cleared their depression or their trauma from the World War II and all those things, or their upbringing as a kid. When I do this process, clearing it from the person, it's also clearing it from that grandparent that never cleared it in their life. So yes, on a much deeper level, which is a brilliant question, it will clear it for them as well. So when that happens, that energy from their release that was being done projects into that person's life into another quantum level altogether, besides the changes in their own life.
Wow.
It's amazing.
It's really amazing. Yeah. Just fascinating.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You mentioned when we were talking before we started the recording is that you have some techniques for people to use that you can share with them, or they can work with you.
Absolutely. I certainly can. Absolutely. So there's a couple of things. So let's say in your life that something happened. You're like, I can't believe this happened. I'm so upset. How could this person talk to me like that? And how could they backstab me and say all these things? Of course, if you work with me, I can find out where I can clear it in the moment, of course, and then go to the root cause of what caused it so that doesn't even repeat in the future. But in the moment, though, there are certain techniques that you could do, like if for the current time, because I also offer, I can talk about it later, a complimentary session with me, no obligations, where you can share everything that's been going in your life that's been challenging you. And I have a customized plan of how we can help you to clear that, no obligation. So, but one thing they can do is this. There's two actual techniques that they can do. If they're really upset or maybe sad about something or anxious about maybe presenting or speaking in front of some group of people they've never been around, this is what they can do. One of the techniques is called thought field therapy. It was developed by Dr. Roger Callahan, who developed this technique, which is very unique. So what you do is you get to that feeling of that challenging event. You think of it like, oh yeah, I remember when they said this to me, and you can rate it, I'll rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. So for all of the people listening, I'm assuming it won't be like a 1, which has no charge. It's probably like an 8 or 9 or 10. So rate it to yourself, for everyone listening, like what level, pick something strong, like, that really bothered you, maybe 8, 9, or 10 level. So once you think of that incident that happened, that was upsetting to you, what you can do is this. With both palms, you can tap on the beginning. Think of that. First of all, think of that and feel that event that happened. Then tap with both hands on the beginning of the eyebrow near the nose. Okay, like right around here. Okay, while you're still thinking about that. Then, right, exactly. Then tap under the eye on the bone part while you're still thinking about that now. Okay. And then for those listening, I'll describe it verbally. Then under your arm, you take both fists and you kind of tap under the armpit of both arms. Okay, just briefly, while you're still thinking about 4 inches below the armpit. And then lastly, under the collarbone. So we have, for those listening, there's a collarbone, like 2 little bones right below our neck. So just tap below that, just like right below that bone on either side, while you're still thinking about that, okay? Okay, now take a deep breath in and exhale slowly. All right. Now, I told you to give a number on 1 to 10. Let's assume it's a 9 or 10. Now rate the number. What number is it now? And definitely, I would say it would be a much less number.
Mhm.
Okay. Would you say that?
Yes.
Were you thinking of something? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Great. And then you just repeat this. You can repeat this a couple of times, 5 to 7 times, whatever it takes till that number drops to about a 1. So yeah, you can go through it again. Did you want me to repeat that again? Or you?
Sure,
Okay.
if you want
So
to, yeah.
sure. So for those listening, just to get it again, you tap. Still think about that. Let's say it dropped from a 10 to a 7. Tap on the beginning of the eyebrow again, near the nose. Thinking about it. Under the eye, on the bone. Thinking about it. Under the arm, fists 4 inches below each armpit, under the arm. Thinking about it. And lastly, still thinking about it under the collarbone that I told you about. Thinking about it. There you go. All right. Okay. Now tell me, what number did that drop? What did you start with, and what number did that drop to?
Well, it was hard for me to focus on it because I was listening,
I know. And I
So-
didn't
but
even know that you were doing it.
But
Sorry.
I've done tapping and stuff before, but I love putting that, experience involved in it. I've never done that before. So, and I was thinking of something, and it was definitely going down with each time, but I
Good.
would love to do it, when I'm really quiet
Right.
and concentrate on it, because I think it would be super helpful.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This was the original technique from which EFT and other offshoots came from that. This was the original one. So, and I fortunately learned directly from him. This was in the early days, though, before I discovered all this new concept with the voice in my search, in my journey. So, so this is something that they can do. Now, let's say you're in a line at the bank or something, and somebody just says something mean to you, or right before you went to the bank, somebody, something happened, maybe somebody cut you off in the road before you went to the bank, or maybe somebody just called you and said, and you got upset. So if you didn't want to do that tapping openly, then what you can do is this. I call it what's called box breathing. So what you do is, if you're standing in line, or if you can just sit down for a little bit, just kind of relax your shoulders, breathe, slow down your breathing, and you're going to follow this 4-count pattern that I'm going to discuss with you. Think about the challenging situation. Inhale for a count of 4. Go ahead and inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now hold that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now go to normal breath. Okay, now you can repeat this for 2 to 4 cycles. And you'll notice that this is something you can do. No one will even know you're doing it. And, if you're standing in line, you can do it while you're standing in line. Or if you can just sit down for a moment before you do anything, just do this and do a couple cycles of it. And you'll find that, it'll bring you down to a sense of balance. Because breathing, you can go without eating, you can go without drinking water for even months. But breathing, I don't think so. Maybe a couple minutes at the most. So that's the most central core to bring you back to balance. So that's some quick techniques. And I have a gift link that for your viewers and listeners that they can click on. And I have it all laid out. So you don't have to remember all these steps. It's in a PDF. So it'll make it easier for them.
We'll put that in the link. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I share an inspirational story of a woman who went through this program? It might inspire you.
Please do.
Okay. So this woman who came to my office first, she had went through so much emotional trauma, physical abuse, mental, emotional abuse as a kid. And she, went through all these challenges in her life, but she somehow was able to triumph above it and conquer it and become successful later on in her own life and business. And so she wanted to inspire other women. Like, I did this. I went through literally hell, as she told me, and I achieved this. But for almost a decade, she was giving these presentations to groups of women. And as she was passionately telling her story, she noticed the women were kind of looking and gossiping with each other during her speech. And when she came to the climax of how she got through all those challenges, which she thought would provoke emotions, but didn't apparently in the audience, the final thing of where she got to where she is, nobody responded, nobody clapped, nothing. So she was very frustrated. So she came to my office. She had her PowerPoint with her. She said, Deepak, I used to do it in office, and then now I do it all virtual in the beginning, totally now. Can you look at my PowerPoint? Can you help me change the words in my PowerPoint? I told her, well, I'm not really a PowerPoint master because I do this different work with the voice, but I'll look at your PowerPoint. I said, I just want to let you know your PowerPoint's perfect. Well, how could it be perfect? No one's responding to my presentation at all. I said, well, it's not the PowerPoint at all. It's you. What do you mean? Well, when I'm listening to your voice, I can barely hear it. You see, the concept, a little intro here, what I found from this science is when we have these different limiting emotions, anger, grief, sadness, frustration, self-sabotage, whatever it is, low self-esteem, low self-worth, different emotions squash different notes of our internal keyboard. There are 12 keys in our internal keyboard, and we have a keyboard in each of our 60 trillion cells. So in other words, if we have different limiting emotions, those squash literally from being heard, those different notes in our voice, different emotions. If you have more than one of those emotions, grief, and then maybe frustration, maybe more of those notes are squashed. So that explains this here. So that's why I told her, I can barely hear your voice because though you triumphed above it, you actually haven't released those limiting patterns from your childhood. But you're in front of me, you're with me now, so we can work on that. So I took it back to her childhood, where all those abuse and all that stuff happened, cleared it all. And then I saw the shift in her voice and the energy. I said, okay, you're good. I have an assignment for you. What, Deepak? I want you to give that verbatim PowerPoint same presentation to that same group of audience. You know what she said? Deepak, why would I do that? That was the most humiliating experience I've had, and this has been going on for so many years. I said, yeah, but you're not the same woman now. I guarantee you, I verified that. So she did the presentation. I said, I want you to report back what happens. She did the presentation, and even as she started, people were like listening, no gossiping. And as she got through the challenging moments, she went, the abuse in her childhood, tears started coming down the women in the audience, which never happened before. When she got to the climax of how she got through it all, the women stood on their feet and thunderously clapped.
Oh, wow.
Never happened before. So she said, Deepak, you won't believe what happened. All these people clapped and they acknowledged me. I said, I'm so proud of you. I am just helping you to release the true potential of who you are. In other words, I'm releasing your true authentic self, your true voice. Because when your true authentic self is released, your true voice will come out. And believe me, it's like a voice you've never heard before.
That's incredible. Yeah.
I
Thank
love-
you for sharing that.
Yeah. I
Sure.
love you said you're releasing your true authentic self. That's powerful.
Yes. Yes.
That makes you shine and makes you be able to just communicate your ideas and in a new way.
Absolutely. And you will be heard. You will really be heard. Absolutely. Like, I have another example if you want, but if not, it's okay. Of a woman executive who was not listened to at all by the men in the corporate environment. Such a brilliant woman. They were actually not making any money, and she gave some brilliant ideas. They didn't follow a thing she said, and they lost tons of money. So she came to me, Deepak, these men are not listening to me. I gave some brilliant ideas, and not only did they not listen to me, they did the opposite, and they lost a ton of money. I said, well, you're a brilliant woman. And what I noticed is I can barely hear your voice. Again, the same pattern. Because she didn't believe in herself. She didn't feel she should be seen or heard because her parents told her that. Children are to be seen, not heard. So that came in her subconscious. So I released that limiting patterns from all her childhood, all those 4 phases. And then I said, you're a brilliant woman. Talk to those executives again. They'll listen to you this time. I invite it. So she went to them and said, okay, guys, you didn't listen to a word I said. So I have a way to get you out of the hole and maybe even above it too. This is what I recommend. The men said, whoa, that is the most incredible idea I've ever heard. Oh my God, we're going to do it. They ended up doing it and making tons of money. And they later told her, you know what? If you had given us an idea like this before, we wouldn't have lost the money in the first place.
Wow.
So she looked up at the ceiling, but then had a smile on her face
I
too,
roll.
because yeah, that's how it makes a difference. So in other words, if you're not heard, you're not seen. And then if you're not seen, you're not acknowledged, you see. So that's the principle of this. And by the way, I just want to ask you, aren't we all closet singers?
Yes.
Right?
She's
Right?
an out front singer and closet
Well,
singer. I'm a
Okay.
carpet singer. Yeah.
The reason I say that is when you release your true authentic self with this process, as I mentioned, you will get a voice like you've never heard in your life. I guarantee it. Because a lot of top singers, actors, authors, and speakers also come to me, but they already have their coach, but they're not able to get these kinds of results that I'm getting. And that's why one of the exercises I do when people work with me is I said, I want you to find a song you really like that you would never even think of singing to yourself, but that it inspires you. And I want you to notice the difference in your voice as we're doing these sessions, which is one a week. And they'll say, wow, Deepak, I started doing it. I hated my voice before, but I'm noticing, wow, there's so much vibrato and so much melody coming out, and all those things will start being released from your voice. So that's why I mentioned about, we're all secret closet singers because our voice is how we communicate with the world. I'm not saying you have to be a professional singer, but aren't we speaking and hopefully being heard by others? That's why our message is so important from our voice.
Right. It is beautiful.
I'm super inspired today, Deepak.
Oh, lovely, lovely. That's what I hope.
So how
Yeah.
can we have our listeners and viewers contact you to work with you if they would?
Absolutely. So what they can do is they can go to my website, which is www.fastanxietyhelp.com, and I'll spell FASTANXIETY help HELP.com. And when they go to that website, they can check it out, the work I do, but also I recommend they check out the testimonials so they can see all the people I've helped, and they might even be able to connect to some of them and what they went through. And most importantly, they can sign up on the scheduler for a 15-minute complimentary session with me. Again, no obligations. I will listen to you openly, share with me all the whatever challenges are going on in your life, and I will make a plan customized specifically for you of how we can clear it and lead you to your true authentic self.
Great.
That's great. Well, thank you so much.
Yes.
It's my pleasure.
Do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
All I was going to say is to your viewers and listeners is I know a lot of you all have gone through a lot of challenges in your life, maybe drawing the same challenging relationships over and over again, or getting in the same challenging negative situations over and over again. And you're a wonderful, caring, compassionate person. And you're probably wondering, why are these things happening over and over in my life? Well, I wanted to share with them. I went through that myself, and I thought it would just keep going on forever. But the inspiration I want to share with your viewers and listeners, there's a way out. You can have that life you desired. Even if you don't even know what that's like, you can have it. And I encourage everyone to do that, because if you live the life that you were meant to live, it's going to be a completely wonderful life for you.
Oh, thank you. That's beautiful. Great. Well,
Thank you.
thank you again for being with us. And if you've liked this episode as much as we have, please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time.
Until next time, where is your intuition leading you into the next perfect step?